In the summer of 2017, 24-year-old Brianna Vibert found herself at a crossroads. Recently divorced from her husband and living with an allegedly abusive boyfriend while battling personal demons, Brianna's life was marked by turmoil and uncertainty. When she mysteriously disappeared on July 15th, some might assume she simply walked away from her troubles. However, the Flint Township Police in Michigan approached her disappearance with the seriousness it deserved, and 7 years later, they continue searching for Brianna and whoever took her. At 3:00 p.m. on Monday, July 17th, a man named Michael walked into the Flint Township Police Department to report his daughter Brianna missing. Accompanying him was Brianna's ex-husband, Eric Vibert, with whom Brianna shared 3 sons. The fact that an ex-father-in-law and ex-son-in-law had arrived together to file this report spoke volumes about their genuine concern. Flint Township Police Detective Lacey Lopez, who took the initial missing persons report while working as a patrol officer at the time, noted their extreme worry. Brianna had children and had not been in contact with them, which represented a significant red flag. Part of Michael's concern and sense of urgency centered around the fact that Brianna's boyfriend, Brandon, and their housemates had apparently known she was missing, but had not contacted the family or called police themselves. Instead, they had only posted about her disappearance on Facebook, and word eventually reached Brianna's ex-husband Eric through social media. Eric explained that he received a screenshot via Facebook Messenger from one of Brianna's roommates showing a post about her being missing and not having been seen since July 14th. Given the knowledge that Brianna and Brandon had a rocky relationship that had turned physical in the past, Michael's concern was entirely justified. However, Michael and Eric did not immediately contact police upon receiving this message. Detective Lopez believes they thought they could handle finding her themselves, conducting their own investigation for a day or two before making an official report. Because they had already done considerable research independently, they provided police with substantial information. Through their personal investigation, they had been able to trace Brianna's last known movements before she disappeared. Michael and Eric learned from Brandon that the last time he saw Brianna was on Friday, when she was intoxicated, and they had gotten into an argument. The dispute appeared to involve accusations of infidelity, though Detective Lopez points out that police lack direct evidence to confirm this specific cause. According to Brandon's account, Brianna became so upset during the argument that she threw a brick at the house and then left, walking toward the Marathon gas station on Miller Road. Fortunately, Michael knew an employee named Sam who worked at that gas station, so he and Eric went there to investigate. Sam confirmed that Brianna had been at the station during the early morning hours around 12:30 a.m. on what would become Saturday, July 15th. Like Brandon, Sam also noted that she appeared intoxicated. More significantly, Sam allowed them to view the security cameras, which revealed that Brianna had left with an unknown black male in a Pontiac Aztek. Sam indicated that Brianna did not appear to know this individual, but she got into the front seat, and they departed in an unknown direction at approximately 1:00 a.m. While no license plate was visible, this information provided Michael and Eric with a crucial lead to share with police. Before contacting authorities, they wanted to ensure Brianna was truly missing. Whether motivated by awareness that families are often told their loved ones will simply return, a desire to be thoroughly prepared, or disbelief that this could happen to them, Michael and Eric conducted extensive personal outreach. They checked with friends and family members, confirming that no one had spoken to or seen Brianna since the 14th. A family member who paid for Brianna's cell phone informed them that the device had been turned off. They also spoke with another friend of Brianna's, referred to as Casey, who reported receiving a text from Brianna at approximately 1:30 a.m. on the 15th, asking if she could stay with her. Casey agreed, but Brianna never arrived. There was some conflicting information regarding this communication, as Detective Lopez believes it was actually a phone call that occurred around 1:48 a.m. and lasted 25 seconds. Representing only an 18-minute timing discrepancy. When Michael checked with Brianna's workplace, he learned that she had not reported to work and that a paycheck was waiting for her. The fact that she was not even collecting money was particularly alarming, creating another red flag in an already concerning pattern. Recognizing the severity of the situation, Michael and Eric decided it was time for professional law enforcement to take over. Detective Lopez immediately transferred the case to the Detective Bureau, because Brianna was not contacting her children or ex-husband about the children. and it had been several days since anyone had heard from her. The detectives had a significant head start due to Michael and Eric's preliminary work, and their first step was to examine the gas station camera footage themselves. The surveillance showed Brianna was obviously upset in the store, and one of her arms appeared to be injured, as if she was holding it, and it appeared to be bleeding. This injury had been mentioned by Brandon when he first spoke with Michael and Eric. Brandon suspected that Brianna had self-inflicted a wound on her arm, possibly in a suicide attempt. Given that Brianna had a known history of self-harm and previous suicide attempts that were known to both Michael and Eric, this explanation was plausible. If anything, this information reinforced the urgency for police to locate her. To find Brianna, investigators needed to identify the driver of the Pontiac Aztec. They obtained copies of the footage and distributed them widely through local news and social media, attempting to reach the broadest possible audience. When they asked family members and friends if they recognized the black male in the video, no one could identify him. Police turned to Brianna's cell phone records and GPS data, hoping to track her location through technology. Since her phone was turned off, this approach was initially unhelpful, but they requested an emergency GPS ping that would locate Brianna's phone every 15 minutes if it turned back on, even briefly. The system would send email notifications indicating either no phone or phone off when the device was inactive. But if service was restored, it would provide latitude and longitude coordinates with approximate distance measurements from the nearest cell phone tower. Cell phone records revealed that someone had been turning the phone on and off over several days. They could see that someone had been checking voicemail from the 16th until the 18th, when they last received ping approval. However, there were no incoming or outgoing calls during this period. Only voicemail checks, followed by the phone being turned off again. While waiting for phone activity, historical phone records proved helpful in other ways. Detectives began tracking down some of the last people who had contacted Brianna before she disappeared. Records showed she had called a coworker around midnight as the 14th turned into the 15th. This coworker told detectives that Brianna had called requesting a ride, sounding intoxicated and saying she was walking down Miller Road. The coworker was unable to provide transportation, so Brianna ended the call but contacted her again shortly afterward, explaining that she planned to ask another coworker for a ride. Detectives confirmed the text or call to Brianna's friend Casey 1 to 2 hours later, presumably when she asked if she could stay the night. Brianna had told Casey that she had gotten a ride to take her there, but Casey never heard from her again. Despite attempting to text and call her, which was confirmed by phone records, Casey could never reach Brianna again. This represented the last time anybody heard anything from Brianna. The conflicting information about timing, some police records indicating 1:30 a.m., while Detective Lopez believed it was 1:48 a.m., raised questions about Brianna's whereabouts between leaving the gas station at 1:00 a.m. and contacting her friend 32:02. 50 minutes later, on July 19th, police received what seemed to be their first promising tip. Someone believed they knew where to find the mystery Pontiac Aztec and its driver. When no one was home at the provided address, a neighbor informed the detective that a woman owned the home and had a boyfriend who fit the description they were seeking, one who occasionally parked the same type of car there when visiting. The man the neighbor described was a 47-year-old named Dale, who was actually the homeowner's fiancé rather than boyfriend. Detectives learned that Dale might not live with his fiancée but was likely visiting her periodically because he had another address associated with him, his mother's house. When the detective attempted to locate Dale at his mother's residence, the car was not visible in the driveway. However, they were on the right track, as they discovered the next day on July 20th, when police received a ping from Brianna's cell phone, originating from that location. When detectives knocked on the door, both Dale's mother and Dale answered, with Dale immediately acting hesitant to cooperate. When the detective explained he was there about Brianna's cell phone, Dale immediately requested an attorney. After calling his lawyer, he initially said he wanted to talk, but not in front of his mother. Dale revealed that he had seen the press release on the news showing him and Brianna at the gas station. At that point, he stopped talking and said he would wait for his attorney. After a brief consultation with his client upon arrival, the attorney gave police permission to enter the house. While Detective Lopez was unwilling to provide specific details about what occurred in the house or where police searched, she confirmed that Brianna's cell phone was found there. However, Brianna was not found in the house or in Dale's car, which was also searched. Dale clearly had significant explaining to do regarding his involvement with Brianna. According to his account, he was driving down Miller Road and stopped for gas at the station at Lennon and Miller Road. When he entered the gas station, Brianna was inside. He noticed she had an arm injury and asked if she was okay. Dale claimed that she gave him a look suggesting he was bothering her, so he left the store. However, as he departed, he felt that he was at the gas station for a reason, and believed that reason was to help her. Since he and his fiancée were very religious, he returned to see if she needed assistance. When he returned, Brianna asked him to drive her to an address on Vermilion Street in Flint City. She warned him not to take advantage of her, and he responded by telling her not to blame him for her arm injury. The house she requested to go to belonged to Brianna's friend Casey. However, as they drove, she changed her mind. Near Casey's house was a strip club called Teasers, where she had previously worked as a shot girl. Brianna asked Dale if he could take her there instead, explaining that she still had friends there who could help her. Dale agreed and even accompanied her inside. He remained in the background while Brianna went to the back area. A short time later, she emerged with her arm bandaged. They left together, with the plan still being to take her to Casey's residence. However, they needed to make another stop because Dale claimed he needed gas again. He purchased $5 worth of gas at a Marathon station at Atherton in Saginaw. While at this gas station, Brianna went inside. Dale waited for her to exit, even entering the store to look for her when she did not return, but could not locate her inside. He waited by the front door looking outside for her, and she eventually emerged from a back room within the gas station. They both left the store, and Dale returned to his Aztec. As he was getting back into his vehicle, a green truck pulled up next to a pump, and Brianna approached it and began talking to the occupants. Dale grew tired of waiting for her, and since it appeared she knew the people in the truck, he decided to leave. As he was driving away, Dale realized that Brianna's purse was still in his car. He turned around and returned to the gas station, but when he arrived, she was gone. Dale then claimed he went to McDonald's to get something to eat, where he decided to throw her purse into the trash. He explained this action by saying he was afraid his fiancée might find it, and she would not have approved of him having a woman in his car, much less visiting a strip club. Dale said he discovered Brianna's cell phone in his car the following day. When detectives asked why he kept turning the phone on and off, Dale provided an explanation based on a previous experience. He said his mother had once lost her phone, and someone who found it kept calling until someone answered. Dale claimed he was turning Brianna's phone on and off to check voicemails, hoping she would call looking for her phone so he could return it to her. He maintained that he only did this because he thought it was the right thing to do, and claimed he had done nothing other than provide Brianna with transportation as she had requested. Detectives were now tasked with determining what parts, if any, of Dale's story were accurate. They obtained security camera footage from the strip club Teasers, which corroborated his account. The footage showed Dale and Brianna entering the establishment, Brianna later appearing with her arm bandaged, and both of them leaving together. Detective Lopez revealed that the employees at Teasers who helped Brianna that night have only recently been identified, so what Brianna might have told them about her arm injury, any fight with Brandon, or her interactions with Dale remains to be determined. However, Dale's account of their stop at Teasers was proving accurate. Everything Dale reported about the second gas station also proved to be true. The employee working that night told detectives that the Pontiac Aztec had caught his attention because it was the only vehicle to arrive during that time. Brianna entered the store and wandered into the back room for employees, where she was captured on camera. Dale was also visible on camera near the station's front door and later searching for Brianna. The reason he could not find her was because she had gone to the employee back room. She appeared extremely unsteady on her feet, as if she was lost and disoriented. There was speculation that Brianna might have taken something at Teasers, which could explain her unsteadiness at the second gas station. But Detective Lopez noted they had no confirmation of this theory. According to her assessment, Dale did not appear to be a known drug user. Eventually, Brianna emerged from the back room, just as Dale had described. She and Dale exited the store together, as he had stated. The employee also witnessed Brianna approach a green S10 or Ranger-style pickup truck and began talking to the occupant or occupants, though there was no description available of whoever was in the green truck. The employee confirmed that Dale drove away at some point, and then observed Brianna leave the gas station on foot. A A few minutes later, he saw the same Pontiac return, circle the area, and then leave again. While the gas station had external cameras, by the time police arrived, the outside footage had already been deleted. The only reason they had any internal footage was because the employee had recorded the security camera feed with his cell phone, creating a recording of a recording. Brianna had trespassed by entering the employee back room, and he thought they might need that footage to identify her. According to Detective Lopez, there was additional footage that has not been released publicly, apparently from another building, showing Brianna outside the gas station. This footage shows her walking away from the green truck toward the back of the gas station, heading east on Atherton. The area becomes very dark, and she appears to vanish completely. Detectives obtained additional footage from outside the gas station, showing Dale's car and the green truck coming and going. This footage shows Dale's car arriving for the first time at approximately 2:50 a.m., leaving at 2:52 a.m., returning at 2:56 a.m., and then departing for the final time, seemingly without Brianna. While Detective Lopez acknowledged that camera system times can often be problematic and display incorrectly, this footage generally appeared to support both Dale's and the gas station employees' accounts of events. Despite the unusual nature of Dale's story, the details seemed to be corroborated by available evidence. However, one aspect of the timeline remained puzzling. According to Sam at the first gas station, Brianna left with Dale at approximately 1:00 a.m. Dale's account indicated they drove to Casey's residence, but were diverted to the strip club Teasers, located near where Casey lived. Teasers was approximately 10 to 15 minutes away from the first gas station. However, strip club footage showed Dale and Brianna entering at 2:15 a.m. and leaving at 2:30 a.m. If they departed the first location at 1:00 a.m. and arrived at a destination 10 to 15 minutes away at 2:15 a.m., there was an unaccounted hour in between. When asked about this discrepancy, Detective Lopez acknowledged that their whereabouts during this time remained unknown, and because Dale had legal representation, they had never obtained a clear explanation for this timeline gap. Another element lacking evidence was Dale's claim about going to McDonald's after leaving the gas station. Detective Lopez was unsure why they had no confirmation of this, especially since he claimed to have thrown Brianna's purse away there. That purse has never been recovered, leaving Dale far from being cleared of suspicion. As Detective Lopez noted, they had done everything legally possible regarding Dale. If he was involved in Brianna's disappearance, detectives would need additional evidence. If not Dale, then the question remained, who was responsible? On the same day, police interviewed Dale and began corroborating his story. They received another tip from a neighbor regarding Brianna. Someone had found a bag of her clothes in a ditch near the gas station area. The bag contained items that obviously belonged to Brianna, including shorts, work uniforms, and possibly a name tag from Taboon Restaurant, where she worked as a waitress. There was no blood or other suspicious evidence associated with the bag. Detective Lopez's current assessment is that this represented items Brianna might have packed from her house for an overnight stay. She had done this in the past when fighting with Brandon, staying with friends on Vermilion Street. Police suspected Brianna had placed this bag in the ditch, intending to retrieve it later. The gas station was within walking distance of Brianna's house, and the location where her clothes were found appeared to be between her residence and the gas station. Over several days and weeks, police continued canvassing the area where Brianna was last seen while investigating potential sightings of her. They received several reported sightings of Brianna, but none were ever confirmed. Detective Lopez noted that, as a taller woman with relatively common features for a white female, she could easily be confused with other people. Brianna's friend Courtney experienced this firsthand while searching with Eric and Brandon one day. While driving down Atherton, they saw a woman walking with her head down who resembled Brianna. They became excited and quickly stopped the car, but it was not her. On August 1st, police conducted a canine search around the second gas station where Brianna was last seen. Despite searching several vacant houses and a large wooded area, nothing was found. Multiple organized searches occurred during this period, with Brianna's friend Courtney participating in at least one, where volunteers walked arm's length apart through wooded areas, hoping to find her while simultaneously dreading the possibility. While police had thoroughly investigated Dale, one person they had not yet interviewed was Brianna's boyfriend Brandon. Detective Lopez was uncertain why this took so long, especially given legitimate reasons for suspicion. During their investigation, police learned from a family member that approximately 1 month before she disappeared, Brianna had asked for help getting away from Brandon, wanting to end the relationship. When the family member asked how they could help her escape the situation, Brianna never responded, and they never spoke again. Brianna's friend Courtney believed Brandon was violent, recalling that Brianna had messaged her about Brandon choking her. Although they had broken up at that point, Courtney heard they had reconciled the following day. It was not that police had forgotten about Brandon initially. They had experienced difficulty contacting him. After playing phone tag, they finally reached him through Eric, who was with Brandon at the time. When asked to speak with detectives, Brandon was hesitant and claimed concern about being arrested due to a friend of the court warrant related to child support issues in Michigan. Diddy Lopez attributed his reluctance to general dislike of police. Brandon also claimed to have cell phone problems at the time, making him even more difficult to contact. However, avoiding law enforcement indefinitely proved impossible, and on August 17th, Brandon finally came in for an interview. Brandon briefly explained how he and Brianna met in 2016, while both working at a club, where he was a bouncer and she was a waitress or shot girl. He admitted their relationship had turned physical several times, but claimed he would never hit her. According to Brandon, when she would become agitated, he would have to grab her to restrain her, and she would sometimes hit him. What Brandon was unaware of was that detectives had obtained Brianna's medical records before his interview. On at least one occasion, Brianna had sought hospital treatment. Her final diagnosis included a contusion on her head, lower back, and pelvis, laceration to her left hand, and traumatic rupture of her left eardrum. She was listed in the records as a victim, and documentation reflected that Brianna informed medical staff she had been arguing with her boyfriend and was thrown to the ground. She then grabbed a knife and threatened self-harm, accidentally cutting her palm. Medical records indicated that Brianna chose to leave the hospital before completing treatment. Regarding the events leading up to Brianna's disappearance, Brandon provided vague information. He stated that both had been drinking that night, and Brianna was drunk. When he returned from an errand, she was gone. Brandon had his children that night and decided to take them to his father's house. Before leaving, he observed Brianna sitting cross-legged in the front yard with her bags packed. No words were exchanged between them. A roommate later told him that when he left, she was bleeding, and Brandon told detectives he believed Brianna had cut herself due to her history of self-harm. He mentioned that she had texted him angrily and then stopped responding to his messages. Brandon was under the impression that Brianna was getting a ride from someone called Q, who has remained unidentified. Detective Lopez confirmed they have never been able to identify this person, and Brandon believed Q had picked Brianna up. In reality, he thought she was getting transportation to go somewhere, not realizing she had walked to the gas station and accepted a ride from a stranger. Detective Lopez noted that Brandon's statement to police differed from what he had told Eric and Michael when they initially approached him. In the earlier version, Brianna had thrown a brick at the house and walked away. In his police statement, Brianna was still at the house when he left, representing either a new story or a different version of events. Before leaving, Brandon agreed to take a polygraph at some point and promised to forward any leads he received to detectives. Despite being very vocal on Facebook about Brianna's disappearance, according to Detective Lopez, his posts were primarily self-focused rather than genuinely about finding Brianna. He made numerous posts about trying to help find her and how devastated he felt, but it was really about Brandon wanting people to know he was upset. This behavior was particularly notable given that it took him over a month to finally speak with police. Whether Brandon could have been involved in Brianna's disappearance remained unclear. However, since her cell phone was eventually found with Dale, Brianna would have had no way to contact Brandon afterward. For him to have found her later, it would have had to be by chance, as Brianna's friend Courtney observed. He would not have known where she was, because she had gotten a ride from someone and visited various locations. When it was time for Brandon to take his polygraph, he claimed he was traveling to Florida to help with hurricane relief efforts. The timing seemed suspicious, and from available information, Brandon never took that polygraph examination. According to Detective Lopez, police eventually searched the house where Brianna had been staying but found nothing of evidentiary value. Within weeks of beginning the investigation, progress seemed to stall and remained that way for years. It was not until 2021 that Detective Lopez, no longer working as a patrol officer, took up the case. leading to renewed activity. She specifically requested this case because she had taken the initial report and felt deeply for Brianna's family and children. The thought of children growing up not knowing where their mother was, whether she was dead or alive, was devastating. One of Detective Lopez's first actions was gathering information about various people involved in the case. She obtained phone records for several individuals, which revealed GPS locations and Facebook records containing private messages between relevant parties. When she began conducting new interviews, Detective Lopez realized that none of Brandon and Brianna's roommates had been interviewed in 2017. Making them logical starting points. She first spoke with a roommate referred to as Amy, who denied being home during the fight between Brianna and Brandon. Prior to picking up her boyfriend that night, Amy had been working at Taboon restaurant when Brianna went missing. She had received a text from Brandon stating that he and Brianna were fighting and that some of her belongings had been damaged. There was conflicting information, as Amy also reported that Brandon told her Brianna had walked away. The case of Brianna Vibert remains an active investigation more than 7 years after her disappearance. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement, including canine searches, surveillance footage analysis, witness interviews, and forensic examination of physical evidence, Brianna's fate remains unknown. The investigation has revealed a complex web of relationships and circumstances surrounding her disappearance. The timeline of events on the night she vanished, from her argument with Brandon to her encounter with Dale and her final appearance at the gas station, raises numerous questions that investigators continue to pursue. Dale's story, while seemingly corroborated by available evidence, contains unexplained gaps that leave room for doubt. Brandon's behavior, both in the immediate aftermath of Brianna's disappearance and during the police investigation, has raised suspicions, though no concrete evidence has emerged linking him to her fate. The discovery of Brianna's belongings in a ditch in her cell phone with Dale suggests she was attempting to leave her troubled living situation, possibly seeking refuge with friends. However, her encounter with unknown individuals in the green truck at the gas station represents the last confirmed sighting of her, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Detective Lopez's renewed focus on the case in 2021 demonstrates law enforcement's continued commitment to finding answers for Brianna's family and her 3 children. The investigation into previously uninterviewed witnesses and the application of modern investigative techniques to older evidence may yet yield the breakthrough needed to solve this case. Until new evidence emerges or someone comes forward with crucial information, the question of what happened to Brianna Vibert on that July night in 2017 remains unanswered. Her case serves as a reminder of the vulnerability faced by individuals in abusive relationships and the lasting impact of domestic violence on families and communities. The search for Brianna continues, driven by the hope that she will one day be found and that those responsible for her disappearance will be held accountable.